Hello, everyone, and welcome to the recap. I'm Henry Knight, I'm the DM for Playerole. We have a show every other weekend on Saturday night at 7 p.m. And on Fridays we film, or I film, the recap and DM talk. The recap is the last episode to this evening, or one more, I believe. And the DM talk will have one more episode for that, which will be tonight, episode 50. But let's get started with the recap. The recap, what happened in the Halloween special, episode 32. The party that they entered the cave. They started the trial of the sword. Now, what does the sword, as you can see on the screen, the sword that they had, they entered the cave, they saw the hieroglyphic of the sword, the hieroglyph, and the sword disappeared, and it kind of embedded itself on the wall as part of the hieroglyph. So they no longer had the sword. They started the trial. Now, what does that trial represent? If you can see the sword itself, there is an eagle head on the sword. Now, eagle represents freedom, courage, honesty, truth. That's the symbolism of the eagle. If you know the symbolism of an eagle, you know that that trial, there's a lot of truth, a lot of reveals happened last episode, and we're going to go over them. They entered the cave, and Eliza and Jaros were with them, and they disappeared briefly. They came back later on in the episode. We'll go over that later. As they moved forward, they saw visions of the past, and they were reoccurring. The visions were of a friend, an orphan, a friend to some, and the orphans, Dominic was in that vision, and he had passed away. How did he pass away? Well, he was killed by a drow called Saren. And that was a big hit to the party. So as they're going around the cave trying to figure things out, this image, this vision of Dominic being decapitated. And Saren was the one that did it. So as they move forward, not only is all this happening, they're trying to figure things out. They entered the room, there were fire arrows, there was a trap, and it was pretty brutal. Took massive damage, but they moved on. They figured out that the traps, there's panels on the ground, and stepping on certain panels would trigger the trap, so they realized what it was, and they disarmed it. They moved on. But unfortunately, they did get hit before, and they didn't want to. They wanted to find out that from this point on, well, we got hit by the arrows. We're going to try to defuse the situation, making sure that nothing happens afterwards. Even though some got hit by roughly between 30 and 42 points of damage, and is pretty deadly. But they're higher level 10, so that's still a pretty brutal attack for a trap, but they still managed to move forward. And they did. And the party was Razil, Mavic, Alexander. 3 of them. So they move forward. Edward, still not with the party. Eliza and Jaros came later. But as they moved forward, they realized that they saw a corridor, and they saw this building. And in that building in the distance, Mavic saw blood on the ground, and he saw things that he recognized, but it was an illusion. The other 2 were completely oblivious to what was going on, so they went in the room, but they still thought that there was blood, there was a lot of a lot of death, but there wasn't. It was all an illusion. Mavic figured it out. They realized that there was a hidden doorway leading to another room. From that point on, as soon as they entered the room, they heard a voice in the distance. Two voices. They were reunited with Gerald and Eliza. They don't remember what happened, and let's flash back. There's a sentient rock underneath a pirate ship. Now that rock is connected to Goddard Thane. They found out that Goddard Thane is a vampire, but his body is elsewhere, and he's feeding on the orphans, these kids. This black inky substance connected to the sentient rock dropped below the ship, below the water, into the ground, and into somewhere, a mansion where Goddard Thane resides. They found out there was two versions of Goddard Thane, a past and a future version of Goddard Thane. Now, what does all that mean? It's pertinent to the story. It's very important to the story because earlier they did a side story called End of the Line, and it have two parts. And those characters defeated, or they're not defeated, they fought Goddard Thane. And what happened to them is there was a huge, massive channeling of a god. Zeus's foot smashed into the ground, creating a crater, a massive crater. And the characters in End of the Line, they were in the ground, they were scattered throughout the debris, the aftermath of that channeling. That was then. Let's flash forward to where they are now. Now the orphans are they're phasing in and out somehow. Why is that happening? Because Goddard Thane is absorbing their essence, feeding, making them stronger. That connection, they found out. So now they're proceeding forward, eventually meet him and kill him. And then free the realm or free themselves. But in order to do so, they have to continue these trials. There's 11 items. Those 11 items are again pertinent to the story. You have the Book of the Dead, crystal ball, the sword, the stake, portrait of a vampire, a little mini figurine of the Dragon Queen. So there's 11 items they have to find. They have most of the items. They have a mithril armor, the phoenix cloak, which Lila is currently wearing. So those are the things they needed to find, and each one has a trial for them. But something happened differently here. The trial of the sword, as I mentioned, the sword, the head of the sword, the hilt of the sword, has a head of an eagle. Now that eagle is very important because it represents courage, it represents freedom, it represents truth. They are finding out a lot of truth because they're undergoing the trial of the sword. But something doesn't feel right. It's different. So as they reunite themselves, they get reunited. They're reunited with, they're reunited with Eliza and Gerald. So a lot of chit chat here and there. They were reunited. They don't realize what happened to them. They know that they were in the cave, and that's all they remember. They don't remember what happened before. Anytime they are back on the pirate ship or being drained by Goddard Thane, they don't remember any of that. So when they phase back into their existence, where the other the player characters are at, the other characters are at, the only thing they remember is what's happening, is the current timeline is they were in a cave, they were with their friends. That's it. Now I'm going to look at my streaming levels. I got an error code here. I hope everything is okay. It seems cool. It's streaming good. So let me check my numbers. Okay, good. Everything's good. It happens. Streaming world. So, okay, so they're together, reunited, and they tell the other party members. Eliza and Gerald tell the other party members, "Hey, look, we don't remember anything. We're in a cave." So they said, "Okay, we're going to have to figure out this mystery." So they move forward. As they move forward, they realize that ahead of them, there is a hidden door in this room where there was an illusion. There was blood, a body on the ground. That was all an illusion. Mavic figures it out, tells everybody, "Hey, snap out of it." Boom. They hear the voices. Eliza and Jaros are back. They're reunited. They move forward. They know that all this blood and stuff is an illusion. So, but beyond that illusion, there's a hidden door. They find the hidden door. A room beyond the room. So they find the room and it's completely pitch dark. And Alexander notices, he hears bats, thousands of bats. And he maneuvers in the room and he's in the proper distance and he throws a light or a flashbang in a section of the corridor, and Mavic's crazy. Having a gunslinger in a party is cool, but he is crazy. So there is a flashbang, per se, boom, in a certain section of the corridor, which the bats flutter. They fly all over the place, etc. Beyond that, they see an individual with a long cape, long, blondish brown hair, red eyes. He has a very Victorian-like clothing. He has a sword at his side. And they realize that's Goddard Thane. Surprised because they were prepping themselves to go defeat him, to go find him and defeat him, but Goddard Thane is here and now. One thing after another, he wants to make conversation. He says, he invites them to have conversation. That's all he wants. And yet, something happens. They battle because the party, being trigger happy, decides, "Hey, we're going to take him out. This is our chance. Let's do it." They try to role play, get some form of connection, and sure enough, it doesn't happen. Goddard doesn't have that. Doesn't have any of that. He doesn't like that. He says, "I want to tell you how I feel. I want to tell you that everything that's happening to now is not your fault." He says it's not your fault, but his head is in a different place. You gotta remember, Goddard Thane was thrown into a very dark place by this organization called the Order of the Light. So knowing that, he truly loves Leandra Ordell. And Leandra and Goddard, if you remember correctly, they had Jaros, Leros, and Lila, the triplets. Those are his children. Cullum Ordell, as I call the caretaker, he decided to, he loves Leandra as well. So it's a love triangle. Cullum was part of the Order of the Light. and so was Leandra, and Goddard in a way. But they all were together. What happened was the order found out of the infidelity between Goddard and Leandra. They couldn't hide it. When they found out, they kicked Goddard out, banished him, threw him to the wolves per se, or in this case vampires. And now he is back. And a very evil, very vindictive individual. So he's back, and knowing all that, Lila, Jaros, and Leros, all three have this connection with their father. Jaros being the most distant. Way earlier in the story, Leros he died by the hands of his own brother. But he didn't do it on purpose. It was a mistake. That was earlier. Now let's flash forward. I have a lot to say tonight. So let's flash forward. So now, what happened with Goddard and the triplets, I'm sorry. What happened to all three? There's a lot that happened. Jaros went on with the party. Leros went on his own way. And Lila stayed with the party as well. She traveled with them from the very beginning. Now, Leros traveled his own way, his own sadistic, dark way. He wanted more. He wanted a different fight. He wanted to take it to his brother. He wanted to take it to his sister. He wanted to take the fight to them because he hated them, kind of jealous. He was very jealous of his brother and sister. So that being said, his story ended with the death from his brother, and that was it for him. So let's go back to where the party meets Goddard. They fight. The battle went well, in a way, for them. They defeated Goddard, but before they defeated Goddard, Eliza fell. She had died. Brazil had a resurrection spell and saved her. But it wasn't a spell, it wasn't a scroll. He used it, saved her, she came back. The battle with Goddard had drained everyone. But they moved on. Alexander asks, if there is one person that I can wish who was here, it's Dominic Minulus. Dominic Minulus, we'll go over his backstory. Dominic Minulus was an individual who lives on Earth. Dominic Minulus was a regular man. He's nothing special. The cabin in the woods, he found a rift from one world or one realm to another. He found it. He stepped through that rift. He found a lush forest, a bridge, a beautiful area. He found a realm of magic. Earth doesn't have that type of magic. Doesn't have the sorcery or the substance, the ethereal energy that this realm has. So he hid the rift and he went on his own. He lived his last days in Minulus, which he called. He built, with the help of others, other men that aligned with his ambitions. He built an ivory tower, and he called it Amazura. Now it's called the city of Amazura. In the north are all the humans, in the southern district of the city are all the different races. You have your elves, the dwarves, the orcs, all the merchants, all the areas. That's your merchant districts, and those are your multitude of races that come into town. Now, what does that have to do with anything? It has to do with a lot. The point is that Dominic, being the normal guy, created this world. Didn't really create the world, already existed, but he named it. And the Minulus, remember Dominic Minulus, his name, the Minulus kind of stuck. And the multitude of races and everyone else, that's what they called it because of him. At first, he wasn't delusional. He wanted opportunity, he wanted power, all that got to his head. And he learned magic. He learned to be a wizard. He practiced until he became powerful. But deep within him, he knew that all this, that power, was all illusion. He was just a normal man. But he was the magistrate of that city. And Amazura was very known for its trade, known for a multitude of things. So he also created an organization called the Order of the Light. Order of the Light are humans that are clerics, paladins, that have this conviction through an entity, through the gods. And Dominic knew that Earth has one God. Yes, there's other religions, we all know that, but he doesn't have to divulge that information. So he knew that. So, with you, audience, knowing this, he found a rift, created his own place as a leader, a powerful leader, a manipulator, and now the party calls him. So he meets them. He shows them where the rift is at, seeing that, hey, the gig is up. They know who I really am. I'm going to show them the rift, and it should be good. Maybe bygones be bygones. I'm going to, like Pontius Pilate, I'm going to wash my hands out of all the trouble, and that's it. But what does Jaros do? Jaros pulls out his axe without Dominic Minulus knowing. Jaros strikes him and kills him because he's a normal guy. Kills Dominic Minulus. And at that point, the rift, the ground starts to break open. Everything starts to implode. The realm was going to implode, destroy itself because of what happened. There was too much connection between the rift and Dominic Minulus. So as he runs, as Jaros runs, Alexander runs, Mavic and Razil run, Lila as well. They all run, try to get away. The ground breaks open. You can see the magma from the realm that they're in. Things started to go bad. But Alexander has an ace up his sleeve, a wish spell. So he wishes the realm to be safe. And he does, but it comes with a price. The first part of that price is that he's weak. He'll lose his strength for a multitude of months. I think it's a couple months, maybe 4 weeks, somewhere around those lines in game terms. So he loses his strength. But there's more that occur. And we're going to go over that in tomorrow's episode. Episode 33, which is the final episode. And that's all I have for you for the recap. I hope you enjoyed it. I have one more episode of the recap. And no, that's it. No more episode. No more recap. That's it. One more episode tonight of DM Talk. And that's it. I'll see you tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central for the last episode. And then after that, season 3. I'm excited. Yay. We'll talk more about that later. See you. Good night. I love you all. Don't forget to subscribe and like and get the word out. Thank you very much.